Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences through our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Emma Sills, COO of PumpGyms. PumpGyms is based in the UK and it offers a high-performance approach to fitness, open 24/7 with affordable, contract-free memberships. Emma, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, the podcast gods have finally shined on us. We have tried to schedule this about 3 times. It's good that we're finally getting to speak and hear your story as well as PumpGym's story. So I guess the question I always ask is, did fitness find you or did you find fitness?
Gosh, I never thought of it like that. I think it was always there for me, fitness. Literally, I can't really think of a time when I wasn't, even from the age of 5, I was running with my dad. So it was just it was a thing. That's just what we did when we were younger. We played a lot of sports, did a lot of fitness. Yeah, it was, which was nice. And then I guess as I got older, I realized that, there was a route for me to actually make it into a job.
Yes.
Originally, I got into corporate to start with. I was a senior manager in a big corporate firm for 10 years. And then I was always doing fitness on the side. So I was always coaching people. I'd got all my qualifications. I was teaching a lot of classes. And then I kind of made that decision, do you know what? I need to, this sitting at a desk and corporate life, I just wasn't built for it. So I literally made the change, and that's when I met the owner of PumpGyms.
So your journey with PumpGyms started off what role first?
So how my journey with PumpGyms started was there was a small budget gym near where I lived. And I started going there and then realized that they needed an instructor. So I started teaching classes there, and that's how I met the owner. Then I realized that the class structure was a little bit all over the place. So I spoke to the owner, because I came from a project management background and organizer background.
Okay.
And I spoke to the owner and was like, can I run your timetable for you? Because it's a bit all over the place. And I turning up to classes and instructors weren't turning up. And, it was a little bit like that. And it was his first gym. So he was kind of getting used to the whole, running of a gym, running a timetable.
Operations.
So that's basically how I kind of connected and said, let me take over the timetable. So I still had my corporate shop and I was just running the studio basically.
I love that they let you and they didn't just say, no, we know what we're doing. That's impressive, to be honest.
Well, I've been teaching a few classes there, and I'd also been quite handy on the cover front, because I think they were having quite a few issues with instructors turning up. So then I was always there to go, I can jump in. So I think that helped. And then obviously I just got chatting and said, look, let me take over this, because I can't stand as it is. So I'll just do that side of it, and then that just led on to me discussing with the owner where he wants to take the business, and the fact that I come from project management background and worked on really big projects and kind of just ended up coming on board to help him grow the business basically. So we then put a plan in place and grew it from 1 to 7 gyms over the next, it was about eight years.
Which is no easy feat. Congratulations.
So we kind of built up to COVID, and then obviously COVID was kind of the time where it just slowed down, and then we're kind of getting up and running afterwards. So
well done. And then I guess is project management skills probably the biggest thing that's helped you to get to the position and run and grow the company in terms of just rigor and structure and the rest?
Yeah, definitely. I worked for KPMG, and they are just, everything they do is so streamlined and well thought out, and like I learned a lot from just running a project, and like rollout plans, and all of that came into, well, I've now got a gym that I've got to roll out, basically. Like, let's take the steps back. Where do we start? Where do we want to end? What team do we need to put in place? What, who's our client? What are we aiming for? Marketing. For me, it was almost, I don't want to say easy, but it was just a structure to put in place. And then, we evolved. So every gym we opened changed as the industry evolved as well. So like every site we opened, different things came into it, or, maybe that didn't work quite as well one time, so we'll change it the next time. So it was just kind of, I had a starting point, I think, from project management background, definitely.
I think it's actually a big benefit. It was well done by the owner to realise that you needed it. I just think about so many gyms, especially in the UK, have been opened with very entrepreneurial people, and they don't probably bring in a decent ops person for a long time, probably until they're about 5 clubs, which I think they regret because they have to do so much work sorting them out to get more growth, right? So to start from the get-go would have actually been a great move.
And I think, like, with my background, it's very much processes and policies, and just putting everything in place from the off, so you didn't have to go backwards and rearrange everything. So it worked.
I get that. And of course, we've already covered a little bit about PumpGyms, but what is PumpGyms' mission? How does it stand out in the space in the UK?
So we're low cost gym, high spec, I guess. So we're 24 hours. We've got facial recognition now in our gyms as well. We're the first 24-hour gym to go biometrics. And we, our ethos is, low cost, high spec, and it literally is high spec. We try to, there's a lot of low cost gyms now. So we try and there's a lot of 24-hour gyms. We try and do that little bit extra. So we start building our sites now with saunas. We've got like a lot of plate loaded kit, high spec life fitness, hammer strength. We've got boxing in there. We've also got kind of like the powerlifting platforms. High rocks is like a big thing now. So we're kitting our gyms out with all of that kind of functional, and like whatever it is that's coming up, we try and make sure that our gym has it, so that our members have everything in one place, and that they wouldn't need to also be a member of another gym.
And where did because I think they're lovely clubs. I've only ever been into one, but I've seen them a lot. Like, where did the design come from? Because I think about my gym box days, and we were so obsessed with design in terms of how it made the member feel, the brand, the loyalty. I think it was very understated. I feel like you guys have spent a lot of time in terms of design. So that's purposeful, that's how you stand out?
So our first few gyms weren't anything like the sort of darker neon lights and that sort of look that we go for now. So they were quite, I would almost say, clinical in almost like floorboards, light blue or white walls, and totally different. And I think as the industry started evolving, we just started looking at other people that were doing this, or things that were just coming into the industry that looked really cool. We then just sort of started collecting ideas, and then speaking to builders, and then the next sites were like, no, we're going totally different, and we kind of built the brand with the blue of the neon lights and the darker feel, but quite sort of quite cool and I don't know, almost nightclub feel, but not, if that makes sense. So we kind of just gradually went down that route. Really, the first few gyms were not like that at all, and then we just started going, do you know what, we need to be different, because at the moment we're the same as the majority of the 24-hour gyms in the UK. So how we make ourselves different is we get different kit, because the majority of those 24-hour gyms all have the same brand kit. So we get different kit. We go TVs on treadmills, TVs on cardio. We get saunas. We make the actual aesthetics of it look totally different. And that's what we did. Yeah, we get 65 kg dumbbells. We kit it out plate loaded, so that we're nothing like another 24-hour. So that was kind of the list. Like, how do we make ourselves different? And it was visually, but also kit wise, and our offering, obviously, which is where Wexer comes in.
Yeah, well, and good segue in terms of adding digital and virtual fitness. How did it add to your strategic plans?
Yeah, so I think the timetable was an area, obviously, that we wanted to improve. Instructor costs obviously are massive, so it was kind of like, how do we improve the offering and not have to put the price up, because we're trying to keep within this low cost price band all the time, because otherwise you hit the mid-range gyms, which is a totally different market. So we're trying to keep low cost but offer more and more and more all the time. And the timetable was an area that just involved us, another project really, in looking into how do we improve it, but also being a 24-hour gym, obviously majority of instructor-led classes are 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and weekends. So how can we offer our members that come at night, our shift workers and the NHS and all these other people that do come at night, the same offering? And the route that we then obviously decided was to go down the digital virtual class route, so that then anybody that enters gym at any time can have the same offering that we are giving the people that can come at peak times.
Yeah, no, nice. Well, lovely. That's why we created the solution, and make sure that you've got no dead space at any time. So, but I guess kudos to you in regards to, you're doing close to 25,000 virtual classes. Like, why is the engagement so high? Is it there's a culture, there's a community, there's habits? What's the trick?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. So we make sure that if anybody has an induction in the gym or a show round, that's one of our tick boxes, is obviously we showcase the studios that we've got, which will involve them always, the staff are always trained to show people the virtual. So even if someone just comes for a walk round and they're not a member, the virtual is a key point of us doing the walk round and saying, this is part of our offering. So so I think it's habit. So if someone was to inquire about our gym before they've even joined, they know that we've studios that both offer virtual, because they've been shown it. So when they then become a member, they have an induction, they're also shown that again. So it's just kind of habit forming, I guess, with the staff. The staff are reiterating the fact that this is our offering, this is our amazing offering. But they also go through, like, they don't just say, here's Wexer. They'll go through and explain how it works. So it is a little bit of that. And I think also one of our sort of like our ethos is to make everything as easy as possible for people. So from the join-in process to getting in the gym to using the facilities, we want everything to be as easy as possible for people. So the Wexer is available and it's there. And there's no time constraints as to when they, obviously if there's an instructor-led class on, they can't go in the studio. But apart from that, they can go in and they can select their own classes and they can do whatever they want whenever the studio is free. And people know that because we've trained people on that. So I think that just works. We've just kept it easy.
No, but I just think about, Emma, it's such a simple thing, but like 50% of people still don't know. Usually it's just not even Wexer, it's just digital technology actually even exists in their club. If that's just an app solution that's trying to support them or virtual system, it's amazing how many members don't do it. So actually, as a part of an onboarding system or just a general sales tour, why not? It's such a simple thing, but still not executed well. So well done for doing that. And but my question to you as well is like, why it's so beginner orientated, in terms of your usage stats, heavy on beginner, heavy on core. Is that because you've got a lot of new members coming in that have never been to gyms before, or is that something that you push actively?
And we don't actively push that. I think what it is I see a lot of people doing core workouts in the studio, the virtual ones.
Sure.
I think, if I'm honest, I've done the core workouts on there because I think at the end of a workout, like maybe you go and do some weights or some cardio, and then at the end you think, oh, I'll go and do some abs. And if you've got the ability to just have someone talk you through, and like it's easier, isn't it, than having to like do it yourself. So I think so our membership base is really varied in terms of age group and in terms of abilities. So I wouldn't say that we have more beginners. So I'm not sure I could answer that as to why more people. I think beginners use classes, but
if we look at the stats in general, and especially the most recent stats, is that people are still using virtual as a lead to live. So they'll use a beginner class that's similar to the live class just to reduce intimidation. Just for whatever reason, I feel more comfortable doing this class without someone in front of me, but then I'll get more confident to go to the gym and do it. It's kind of like we kind of discuss it like the treadmill effect. It's like that's kind of the safe zone. It's kind of your own cage, right? And similar to virtual with beginners is that's or group exercise with beginners is they can start with virtual. So you might just be naturally hitting that target market through having the solution. Of course, if they know the solution exists based off every tour, then it's quite a nice link to go. My first experience to group exercise will be that. So it makes some sense.
And I think like obviously with us being 24 hour as well,
of course.
I've noticed that maybe a lot of people that haven't got the confidence to be in the gym tend to come out of hours, so they might be more sort of like beginners because they don't want to come when it's really busy. So they maybe they are the people that are also doing those classes as well.
Yeah, and I'm quickly, literally, as you're speaking, predominantly beginner. It's from 9 p.m. till anywhere from 12:30 to 1 a.m. So you spot it.
Yeah, so that is right.
There you go. So okay, nice. And then I guess, but what advice would you give? Because there's all around the world, people are executing virtual in different ways. What would be your advice? What would be your 3 things to do to execute virtual right?
I think habit forming is a key one, and that's in terms of members and staff. Because I've seen in some gyms they have virtual, and you wouldn't know. It's kind of hidden away, and you would obviously walk past it type thing. Whereas with our gyms, we've got it on our website. We actively advertise it in sight, so members are aware of it. One thing that I always get the staff to do as well, like new staff, is I always encourage them as well to do some of the virtual classes, so that then if people ask about them, they've experienced them in terms of they've searched for them, they've pressed play, they know how it comes on the screen, like that side of it as well. It is really key because we do work with a lot of young fitness instructors that haven't always got the confidence sometimes in speaking or advertising things as we'd like them to do. So if they've got the experience and they've got the knowledge, then that obviously helps them to be able to explain the process better. So that's key for us. And I think how we've got our setup as well in terms of the studio setup and the visuals and you
good.
hit play, and it just works.
Yeah.
So you know, there's
important.
that side.
No
yeah.
issues.
Yeah, exactly. That side of it, you know, has to be key, because if someone's coming into the studio to do virtual out of hours all the time and they're pressing play and there's no sound coming out, or the visuals aren't working properly and it's just sound, or, you know, things like that, they get fed up and then they won't do it again. So it's got to work as well.
Yeah. As I say, Emma, we always need 100% uptime. I think it's 99.9999. But you know, we're absolutely obsessed to get it to 100 at all times, which is nearly impossible. But to your point, you know, if people are going to go out and do a virtual class, it's got to work every single time. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. And then I guess in terms of, you know, how does digital and virtual play into the growth plans moving forward?
I think we know it works for us, and we're very much a model that let's not change the things that work. You know, let's replicate. You know, we've created the model, so there might be things that we tweak per site, but generally, you know, Wexer is part of that model. So moving forwards, this is how we build gyms. We just get another venue, we build it again and again and again. So we just keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it.
No, makes total sense. I think sometimes we can overcomplicate things in this industry. And then in terms of you know, PumpGyms trends, you know, for the next, you know, what kind of keeps you up at night? What is exciting you? You know, what would you say to those things?
I would say opening new sites is always the exciting bit about working in gyms. Finding new sites and building. You know, that for me is the interesting part, I think. So yeah, I see the big
part straight away.
Yeah,
as soon as you
like it's hard work opening a new gym, and like the hours you end up putting in towards, you know, the last bit. But it, you know, it's exciting, isn't it? Like seeing a whole new site come together and introducing new staff to it, training new staff on your model and how you do things, and you know, bringing more team members on board to help you grow the business. Like that side of it is the exciting part. So yeah, hopefully new sites coming on board.
And then what keeps you up at night? From a bad point of view, bad trends or negative trends, or what, you know, what are you worried about in terms of the market right now? And you can't say tariffs.
Do you know what? I think the challenge is staffing. And I think it's probably always been, but there's definitely been a trend since COVID of less people wanting to work full time. I don't know if you experienced that, but I've experienced it in the UK, which has been more challenging to find the right people for the role, because obviously we work. So, you know, the guys are expected to work till 10 p.m. and they start at 8 a.m., which isn't actually that early. But, you know, they are on a rotational shift basis. They do work weekends. You know, they are working evenings. So I appreciate that side of it might not appeal to some people, but that is the industry. So what I was kind of finding since COVID, that the trends were that people wanted to be in the industry but not work in it. And I'm like, how do I get
the good side of it?
How do I get through this? So I think that's probably the challenge is finding the right staff to run your sites, because when you've got the right staff in place and you've got good management team in place, it makes a huge difference to your members and the offering, and you know, even like from, you know, linking with Wexer, when you've got the right team in place, I'm sure that if we looked at the stats per site, the site with the better management team are probably the site that Wexer is being used the most, because it's being rolled out as it should be.
Perfect.
So
Well, for us, there's a direct correlation to people even just changing their schedules once a month and usage. You know what I mean? And so we know if it's a good general manager, group exercise coordinator, or whatever, if they're doing that, we know that there's an engaged basis because they're actually listening to the feedback of the members in terms of what needs to change. And we can see that with most of them, Emma.
Yeah, it makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, no. And then look, how do people connect with you? What events are you attending next?
I'm really bad at events.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on Instagram. That's probably the best place to connect with me. Emma Sills Business Mentor, it's actually under. But yeah, I did go to FIBO. So yeah, I am at some events. I'll probably be at Elevate. I will make the effort and go to Elevate, which is I think in June. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, look, I recommend anyone that's listening to connect with Emma, especially in terms of execution. I think you've given some real simple advice that just gets it done really, really well. And look, and congratulations on the success. You know, growing from 1 to 7 clubs is not an easy feat. So especially with how competitive the UK market is. So well done to you and the team, and thank you for the support of Wexer, and we'll continue to support yourselves.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Cheers, Emma.
See you later. Thanks.